saw Robert in the studio doing it, so I had to give him my air drum as well. You are at Virtual Book Club. We're on week 112. Book Club started during the pandemic, October 2020, and it was just a group of us coming together in Zoom to talk about the books that we were reading. And it didn't mean that you had to read the book, but we did gather every Thursday on Zoom until a few of the founding members, convinced me we should go live. And here we are. Oh, speaking of which, we got Robert, we got Hal, and yet there's no rules about eating at book club. You can eat at book club as well. Marianne. So we got Houston, Florida. We got Toronto, Canada. We got Kuwait in the house. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming again.
Thank you.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey. I don't know why, but that reminded me of Flintstones.
Reminded me of Fat Albert.
I was going to say Fat Albert too.
Fat Albert.
And that was from the Little Rascals?
No, that was Fat Albert.
No. Fat Albert. He was from a show with
From fame to infamy, Mr. Bill Cosby.
Oh, wow.
He did all of the voices on that cartoon.
Oh, wow.
God, I almost said something. Oh boy.
Yeah, there's a bunch of we're only 3 minutes in, and there's a bunch of things I've almost said.
From fame to infamy, yeah. That really hit me. I mean, like Bill Cosby.
But what the amazing thing about that was that he did every single voice on that cartoon, and there was at least a half a dozen different characters.
Yeah,
that's amazing. And then remember how I can't remember who it was, did like every single character acted and like made himself up. Well, he had a makeup artist in was it the Nutty Professor?
Nutty Professor, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That was, who was that?
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy. Yeah.
That's crazy.
We enjoyed sharing that with our children until we realized was a bit of was it not necessarily profanity, but bad words,
overtones, undertones.
Yeah, a lot of that. So I was like, it's okay, just close your ears, keep going.
Wrong tones,
tone deaf.
So it's 18 degrees Celsius in Calgary, and so I think that's about 60, maybe 60 something.
You should be out golfing.
What's that?
You should be golfing.
Oh, I did yesterday. It was really hot, and your first round out, wow. I forgot how like grueling it is when you're in hot temperatures and it's your first time out. You're using muscles you've never used before for a year. Cray. But it was said in the news, Hal, that Calgary is hotter than some parts of Florida right now. So
I must be in some other place in Florida.
Yeah.
82 Fahrenheit.
Now. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
It was in
the upper 50s this morning, early morning, so that was nice.
Oh, it's 82 in Kuwait.
Oh, wow.
51 in Toronto.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm in the air conditioner, so I don't really care what it is.
Yeah, air conditioning comes in handy this time of year.
That's Kuwait climate, air conditioning all year long.
We are reading a new book, guys. Decoding Greatness. And I find it weird that Hal has a different subtitle.
Yeah, my cover's different, but I've got to believe it's the same book.
Yeah.
It's also got it's got a different subtitle.
Exactly.
So if
Well,
I start singing off the wrong hymnal,
I wonder if that's going to happen. I
I don't
mean,
know. Pick a page and tell me what the first couple of words are.
okay,
Random
the
page.
introduction. The
That's a good
introduction.
place to start. By the
Yeah.
time Steve Jobs.
Yeah, mine
Finds out
looks
he's
just
been
like yours,
betrayed.
Hal. On Kindle, it looks exactly like Hal's.
Well, it's interesting because like I feel like how the best in the world reverse engineer success is what got me. And I don't know,
I
perhaps
mean, it's all about reverse engineering. So, I mean, I'm sure it's the same. I think the copyright date is 2021 for both books as well. So I think what happened is, like some will happen, that there's just different covers to try and reach different markets. And I think you
yeah,
have,
yours was from London apparently.
I think. I
What
stopped trying to
also-
research it because I'm reading what I'm reading and I'm not reading anything else.
Okay,
Right.
so what sometimes happens is that the ebook and the paperback have different covers than the print book, and sometimes the names and titles are different depending on the region, because sometimes words have different connotations. So if
Oh,
yours is from the UK, that could be one of the reasons.
Hmm.
interesting. So you're reading in proper English.
All of my S's are the right S's. They aren't Z's, and all those kinds of things.
Do you do S's, Hal?
I
Instead
do
of
S's.
Z's? Instead of Z's?
Exactly.
Yes.
No Z's for me.
Really? But
Yeah,
you
no.
you are American, though.
Last I checked.
Last you
long as
checked.
they'll
I
have
thought
me.
so. I was like, nice to meet you, Hal.
I mean, I
Okay.
am in Florida, which I think is a foreign country sometimes.
It can't be. Yeah, I picked up the S's too and the Z's when I lived in UK. It followed me back to the US and here as well.
Ah.
Interesting. Yeah, I've stuck with leaving the U out ever since I moved back to Canada, and I realized that, the Americans just think we're funny for using the U, so I took it out of everything. I now say,
Like
savor,
humor.
flavor, neighbor
Yeah.
without
But
the
do you
U.
go oot in the boot?
Out in the, yeah.
You have to use the U for oot and boot.
There's clearly a process for that.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I am enjoying this book. And I think it's a great book to read right after the one we did read, because, well, the two of the books that we did read, because a lot of whatchamacallit, trade no, tech war? What was
Chip
it?
War.
Chip War, right. Chip War. I was trying to peek at my books. A lot of Chip War was based on founders. And then, of course, in Shoe Dog, it was about Phil Knight, a founder. And this book is kind of like letting us kind of like decompose like things that those founders have in common. So I don't know. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm probably about 75, 80% done, so I'll finish it soon. But, beyond the overarching concept of sort of, reverse engineering, and, it's about, how, some of the really best ideas are, people who have reversed engineered other ideas and then made it their own or made it different. It wasn't just some epiphany of an idea.
Right.
But what I really like is a lot of times when I'm reading books, the examples that get used, I start to find as being tedious, and I want to get to the meat. This book, I really like the examples.
Me too.
I feel like I'm learning things about inventions and how things came into being that I didn't understand the rest of the story.
Right, like Michael Bell. Bell? Was it Michael Bell? Dell? Dell.
Dell.
Michael
Yep.
Dell.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first thing he did when he got his computer back in the day was like take it all apart.
Mm.
Like who would know that, right? This book has a lot of great research, and it's not just Michael Dell. There's references to like all the greats, like the artists, Monet, Picasso, Cassatt, Gauguin, and Cézanne. How do you say that? Paul Gauguin.
Oh, gone.
Gauguin.
Oh no, is there a U in it?
Yeah, there is. Oh gosh.
One of the stories in there that I thought was, there's so many good ones, was one where Steve Jobs was just so pissed off at Bill Gates and summoned Bill Gates to
Oh yeah, that was good.
to Apple headquarters, and Gates just goes, and he's like, putting Steve Jobs in his place.
That was entertaining.
Tell us where you're coming from if you're on. Maybe Hal was right, and going every 2 weeks, you lose people. It's not showing on my LinkedIn.
What's not?
It's there. I see it.
Oh, really? This live?
We got a lot of comments too. Looks like. Well, Peter
Oh, really?
commented, and
Okay, and here's
Kelsey is
Litt.
here.
Hi, Kelsey. Really enjoy you coming. Thanks for coming. Tell us
Kelsey,
where
you
you're
should come
from.
join in the tomfoolery.
Yes, you should. Kelsey, you should come next in the next one 2 weeks from now. Or Rob can send you the link and you can come now. We can explain to you what we're reading. Oh, busted.
What happened?
I'm on Discord with Kelsey and her crew, Travis Lochner and Jacob.
Oh yeah, of course, the Beast Node crew. Yes.
Yeah, the Beast Node crew. And there's this game. It's called Putt Party. Totally has something to do with golf. So of course I'm addicted now. Kelsey says hi to you, Rob.
Ma'am.
Were you trying to look up a story, Hal?
No.
It's.
I can.
I thought the part about algorithmic thinking was really interesting. Okay, here's the part that was pretty cool. Well, I was just like blown away by it. They talk about algorithmic thinking on page 25, and they talk about Alyssa, Nathan, and Josh Yanover, who met on Tinder. And that's an example of how algorithmic thinking can understand your likes and dislikes, and then put together, going from that, reverse engineering, and then giving you suggestions. And now today, not too long ago, the idea of searching for a romantic partner on a website was considered an act of desperation. Today, that stigma has disappeared. Studies suggest that nearly 40% of romantic
that was
relationships
interesting.
now begin online. 40%.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, and 98% of those fail, right?
Yeah.
They begin and there's a higher rate of the end.
Yeah, I wonder if that's the case, but I had no idea. What do you guys think about that?
I think the fact that communities are no longer what they used to be where it was easy, it was very much more tribal. Families were much more involved in, and the community was involved in, helping start relations. I think now, with everyone busy behind closed doors, it is an option that people are considering, and I do see that more people are doing it. I'm not sure if the stigma is completely gone. I think it's more on the hush hush. I've seen some of that too, and I've seen some people that are quite open to it. I've seen some people that are really opposed to it.
I think it's generational though. I think the younger the generation, the more open they are to it.
I was thinking about the concept of algorithmic thinking in general. Whether whether we're conscious of it or not, we can be more conscious to the fact that algorithmic thinking is leading us to places and people and interactions more than we ever probably realize. At some point in time in all of our youth, if you wanted to meet somebody, it meant get out of the house and go somewhere. And now people are being delivered to you through applications that you think about it, Rob may have had to put up with me, outside of, certain applications just because I'd stalk them. But, the rest of you, I don't know that, if it wasn't algorithmic thinking in some way, shape, or form that led us to each other, would we really have actually met and enjoyed the interactions with each other?
Yeah, totally. Which is something that I think it was System Error didn't really say, like, about the benefits. So there are benefits to algorithmic thinking. It even breaks down a TED Talk. Like, if you were wanting to read a TED or deliver a TED Talk, it breaks down like one of the most famous TED Talks there was, which was really interesting when you go to re-engineer these things that, were great successes and we didn't really know anything about. On page 49, he says, the messaging on Apple's website is also less likely to mention price and more likely to favor emphasizing the benefits of a product over a particular feature. Apple doesn't tell you its new AirPods include state-of-the-art noise cancellation technology. It prefers the more poetic and visceral magic like you've never heard before. Apple wields this approach again and again for a variety of products, highlighting a product's benefits more than twice as often as Samsung. Why? Because Apple is appealing to emotion, not logic. What do you guys think of that? Like, first of all, do you have an Apple?
I sure do.
Are you Apple all across, Marianne, or what about your laptop? And
I used to have a MacBook, but I found it actually tricky for work. Yeah, because like if I, for example,
You're triggering Rob here. Just
why
so
did I? Why?
Oh, he. There's Apple devotees, and then there's people who think it's sort of like the devil. So I'll just stop.
No, I enjoyed my MacBook, but I'll give you an example of why I couldn't use it. For example, I was doing an investigation where we had to review emails, and MacBook, it did not work. I was not able to review the emails, and I contacted Microsoft. To try to find out, and they said it's purposefully like that. So there were some issues that I was finding where I wasn't able to adapt in the Microsoft environment, and because I'm working in a Microsoft environment, it became not friendly. So I actually had to switch.
Yeah, I mean, this makes perfect sense. I mean, Apple is Satan, so yeah. This makes sense.
I
Yeah.
have an iPad, but everything else is
Yeah.
like my phone is Google Pixel, and then I have Microsoft for my computer. But I'm seriously thinking of switching to a Mac, even though my computer is less than a year old, just
Yeah,
because
don't make that mistake.
I'm having some issues with it, and I don't think it's as stable as I hear that a Mac will be. So
Okay. Yeah, I'm a Samsung phone and a Microsoft Surface kind of girl. Very practical and logic driven. So boring. Enough about me.
something weird just happened.
What
Did
happened?
anyone notice it? Like it froze, and everyone's screen, all of us turned black, and then it came back on.
Oh,
No, that didn't happen for me.
I
It's Chat
didn't.
It
GPT
heard that
TV.
you were getting about switching to Apple, and it just said,
Right, and it acted up
Satan
on you.
reached
Apple.
down, and that was it.
Okay.
Rob,
Might have
you're not a Apple fan, Rob?
Let's get
I do
into
not
it, Rob.
indulge in the forbidden fruit.
What happened? What happened with you and Apple? Apple upset you?
Nothing. I just don't indulge in the forbidden fruit.
Okay.
Yeah, don't take a bite of that apple.
That is correct. Once bitten, twice shy.
Mm.
It
So
is.
should I get this book? I haven't bought it yet.
Yes, Avril. Every time I'm like highlighting something, I'm thinking about Avril and the way she decomposes, like how you read, how you learn, creativity, all that stuff. Like Avril, you should read the index of this book and look at all the works that he read and researched, and then I think you'd be convinced to read this book.
Yeah, I think it's well researched.
Mhm.
The stories are really good. And the points that he's making about the nuances of reverse engineering and the different ways to approach it to your life, I think is beneficial. I also think, given all of that, it would be scannable for you.
It would be what?
Scannable. I don't think you'd need to read every word.
Okay. All right.
Right. But you might want to.
You might want to.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to.
Okay, well, I'm going to read some of it for you.
Okay, go ahead.
It is often said that the person you are today is largely determined by the 5 people with whom you spend the most time. It's because our close friends, colleagues, and family have the power to shape our beliefs and expectations in subtle ways that we often fail to appreciate. All of us have some control over how we spend our time and with whom we surround ourselves, yet we rarely consider changing our social circle as a tool for sparking creative ideas. We should. Seen in this light, one opportunity we undervalue is the practice of networking. Many of us have been taught to view networking as a transactional tool in the service of business development and career advancement, but not everyone views networking this way. Clayton Christensen, the late Harvard Business School professor we met briefly in the last chapter, found that while executives use networking to sell themselves and their company, or to strategically befriend those with access to valuable resources, entrepreneurs go about it differently. They use networking as a means of gathering valuable insights and cutting-edge ideas. Imagine if you could abandon the inauthentic, self-serving motives that lead so many of us to despise networking, and instead simply aim to connect with a few thought-provoking people and gather one or two stimulating ideas. By actively seeking out and curating a diverse network of friends and colleagues from a wide range of disciplines, anyone can increase the odds of finding novel ideas worth incorporating into their work. Like, heard it 1,000 times, right? But in the context of, really breaking it down, that was the most succinct passage I've ever read about it. Like, I've read books about networking, and it's never been broken down that well. Hello, Aaliyah. Thank you for joining us. Oh, we were just talking about you, Raquel. Familia.
Ma'am.
All good stuff, of course, everyone.
Hello, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
For real.
So, Hal, and maybe we're jumping the gun. You have read about 75% of the book. What
And-
are 3 nuggets you could
Ooh.
give to us?
Mm.
Do you have some nuggets, Hal? I mean, you always have nuggets.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if they're big enough to qualify as nuggets. It's smaller than a nugget.
Go
Do you
for
think
it.
it's like a morsel? A little morsel?
Morsel. Oh, that's good. I think I've already kind of touched on it to just kind of speak off the cuff. When you hear, most of us understand what the concept of reverse engineering is, but we don't. It doesn't feel practical, So I could look at my PC all day long. I could take it apart and I still have no idea how it works. I just accept that it works. I can't reverse engineer from it how to make my own. But when you apply the concept of reverse engineering to all aspects of your life, from relationships to building friends to, coming up with the next idea that you might think, is beneficial. It just basically takes the concept of reverse engineering and applies it across all aspects of our lives. And why it's beneficial, I think, very much so to Benita's early points, why it ties in with some of the other books. It fits well with the idea of being a successful entrepreneur. Most successful entrepreneurs did not come up with the idea that nobody else ever thought of.
Right.
They reverse engineered somebody else's idea and made it then special or their own or unique and created a new market for it. And I think that's that. I don't know if it's 2 or 3 nuggets, but that's a nugget.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? A good example recently, reverse engineering, was the recent Miley Cyrus song,
Oh.
"Don't Buy Me Flowers," and how they have you seen where they took, was it Bruno Mars, Rob? Compared his song to her song, and she actually line by line, worked out the female version of the song, and it was really, really interesting. And I think a lot of that happens in the arts.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. They have it in the arts, in the sciences,
Yes,
to our daily lives.
that's right. And entrepreneurship, right? You take
And
one thing and then you deliver it to a new market, a new niche, and that was what the book covered. So,
But
yeah.
you mentioned something today, Benita, having to do with my blog post. So essentially, my blog post today, I was looking at how singers and actors learn something fast and how you could apply it to reading. So I did a bunch of research to see if there was a way I could deconstruct. So, so what you're saying it puts it into context for me, and how we
Oh,
can use it in different areas.
right. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, so here's an interesting example. I'm just reaching for one. There's a chapter, it's about a little less than halfway through the book. The chapter is called The Scoreboard Principle. And this concept of we do better as human beings if there's a way of keeping score, of tracking, of setting goals. And as it's been reverse engineered, we see examples of scorekeeping in the scoreboard principles showing up in places where, if we think about it, it actually doesn't make sense. Yet we still apply it. So the example is, this concept of gamification. And so you hear about gamified training and gamified this and gamified that. And he says, gamification is everywhere. I'm on page 96, at least in my version of the book. Gamification is everywhere, and you'd be hard-pressed to find an app that doesn't feature scores, even when those scores have no obvious rationale for existing. Instead, points are shrewdly doled out to seduce and manipulate users into playing longer games, making return visits, and springing for in-app purchases. And as I thought about that, there's a couple of video games that I play, and they keep introducing more and more ways to kind of track numbers and points and things and how you compare with each other.
Right.
And I thought about it, some of us, I use Goodreads. I look to see what the ratings are on Goodreads because I trust it more than Amazon, and usually the ratings are lower than the Amazon ratings. But I started getting emails from Goodreads tracking my daily goal on the number of pages. It's like it's guilting me into interact with it, right? And so, this reverse engineering that was done to say what motivates human behavior, whether it's relevant or not, and how do we apply it to something completely different?
Right. I think being aware of this is really important too, like for our kids and younger people. Understanding the psychology and how these things work can make you maybe a little bit more conscious about your activities or your buying or your reading or whatever. Hey, Hal, we got to add each other on Goodreads. I have a whole shelf dedicated to Virtual Book Club.
Okay.
So we got to add each other.
I'm on Goodreads, but
Oh, good.
I don't use it.
Oh,
Like something
forget.
happened. Like yes, something happened, and I just refuse to use it.
Oh, okay. I just forget to use it, and then I'll go in like every quarter and then update my reads. But I mean, there's could be things I've forgotten.
So I think taking that concept a little further, if I were wise enough to have understood that, then I would have probably created a whole scorekeeping system to get my kids when they were younger to do chores instead of just telling them because I said so or punishing them for not doing it. I create a whole point system and, and
Right.
prizes at the end. And
Oh man, that's brilliant for people with kids. Oh, thanks for adding that link to the Miley Cyrus song versus. Do you have the Bruno Mars as well?
Yeah, I think so. It's a comparative. I didn't open it because I didn't want to make.
Oh, I see. Got it.
But yeah, I think it is.
Okay, I'm gonna do that over the weekend. That's fun.
Yeah, it was fun to hear the comparative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like rappers do that a lot, right? They they call out someone, and then the person that gets called out will respond in their next song and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
But speaking of algorithms, So I think the premise of reverse engineering is to promote creativity and adopting, different styles that are successful, right? But when we talk about algorithms, what happens is as you pointed out in the dating site, is when you narrow down your searches, right? The algorithm works so that it tailors to what you've demonstrated you've liked. So the algorithm actually may bias us to continue to think in a certain way, which is not necessarily representative of what's out there, which then, by design, may limit our creativity
Right.
Right.
Drives you
and have
further
the
and
opposite
further
effect.
into your own echo chamber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's an interesting thing. I'll read it. Where and here's an example, and I know that maybe not the exact example, but the concept applies to all of us. So think algorithmic thinking, not algorithms, but algorithmic thinking being something where, something keeps refining to give the audience more and more of what it thinks it likes and wants. So the downside of that is what's referred to as implicit learning. So here's the example. If you've ever found yourself captivated by the ingenuity of the first few episodes of a Netflix show, only to be bored by its formulaic predictability at the end of the season, implicit learning is likely to have played a role. So the algorithmic thinking is the audience liked that. Do more and more of that theme around that show over and over and over again. Well, you start to get bored because you can predict where it's going.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you, it's a network show, that many of you haven't watched, but it's one that I was talking to my wife about just recently. Is a perfect example of this. One, first few shows, the beginning of the season, there's the show. Now I can't think of the name of the show. Queen Latifah is on it, stars in it. The Enforcer or something. No.
Oh, right.
Is that what it's called?
I think, or Reinforcer?
Anyway.
Equalizer.
Thank you. That's the name of the show. And by the end of the first season, we started getting bored, and now we don't even watch it because I feel like my wife and I said to each other, we feel like we're watching the same show over and over again. But it fell into this trap of that's what got us ratings. That's what people want. And so that it's an algorithms, but it's this concept of algorithmic thinking. Yet maybe that's not what we want because we get bored with it.
That's right.
Right.
So stifles creativity.
So that, like the same type of thinking is, a particular genre of movie has a breakout success.
Right.
So that everybody, now all of a sudden, every movie is following that pattern, and people stop going to them because they're bored with the formulaic predictability of it. The novelty wore off.
Except for like Marvel and whatchamacallit, like those ones are
DC.
classics. Those ones are classics. Like we know the formula, we still love it.
But it's brought in, they bring in enough difference.
Right. Yeah, there was that part about where they talked about Stan Lee, and like before it was like so formulaic, and then he wanted to bring flaws to the superheroes, and like the
to
executives
make them relatable.
Mhm.
Yep, that was a good one. Another good example.
Right. Yeah, like there's so many. Another good example of what Hal was talking about, like where you watch or you read Twilight, and then all of a sudden everybody out there starts making movies about vampires. And you find that because you've already been exposed to that one that you liked, you feel like everyone's just copying the success on that theme. But in the book, Ron Friedman talks about, not copy. Well, I don't know. There was this one example where people went to, it was like a experiment. And what happened was that these artists, like it was an art class, got different
Oh, yes.
practice sessions. So some artists drew original work themselves for hours and hours, and then another group were told to copy a great artist's drawing, and then what happened was that the people that copied were then able to put their own spin on it and create further creativity. So there's like a real paradox between copy and not copying.
Makes sense. Makes sense, actually. Although that's not what we were taught growing up, but it does make sense.
Right.
Well, and the big thing is too that there are very few truly unique ideas out there.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody is essentially reverse engineering almost everyone else, except for that one person who was the first to do whatever it was. So, yeah.
And
But
even
then the book, yeah.
sorry,
Go ahead, Benita. No, I think we were going to say the same thing, but go ahead.
Oh, really? I was, oh, geez, I forgot my thought.
Even then,
if you were the first person to come up with it, it could have been a big flop for you, and then somebody took it and, you know.
That's right. Which was the premise of which was what's said in the book, right? That first doesn't necessarily mean you're the best.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to say too?
Yeah.
Cool.
But sometimes, like some ideas are ahead of their time. So someone comes out with it first, but the world is not ready for it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we saw that Avril in the Nike book, right? Wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. So there are all those things to consider.
Right. Oh, I was going to see Nike Air last weekend and I never got around to it. So I need to see it this weekend.
We need to close that loop.
Exactly. Like that was like the whole point of reading
The timing
Shoe Dog during the month that the movie aired.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I have not.
Is it on Prime? Is that where we can catch it?
I thought it was theaters, but it could
There
be on.
was also, I think it was released to one of the streaming services.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'd like to know. I only have Disney Plus and Netflix.
I'm still not comfortable being around a whole bunch of people that I don't know.
It's going to premiere on Prime Video on May 12th.
Okay,
Oh,
I
okay.
have Prime.
According to Mr. Google.
Okay.
Yes, only days away, Avril, and then it'll be on Prime.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
Bon.
So
I found the story about the B-29.
the fighter jet?
The fire jet and it landing and
Bingo.
Was it
B-29.
It took me a while to get it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the B numbers go from 1 to 15, so your bingo card's messed up.
Rob, you just aged yourself.
Just put a square on the free space and call yourself good.
Sorry, Marianne.
I'm so sorry. Carry on.
That's okay.
At least you didn't say you sunk my battleship, or something like that.
You are not sorry. You are not sorry.
Were you talking about how the B-29s, like, they innovated?
No, how I'm trying to find the reference. I
Okay.
had it, but it was about how the plane ended up landing. Was it in Russia? And they disassembled it to and copied it to the T.
Right. And like that's what the Chinese I think are really, really good at. I heard a story the other day, and it was about them bringing production over to China in the 80s, and there was like a pot that had a dent in it, and the dent was an imperfection. But the Chinese thought to make a complete copy, you have to have everything, right? And they didn't know that the dent was supposed to be gone. So they copied it down to that dent.
Yeah.
And so, like, we only have ourselves to blame for how good they are at copying things because, we had them manufacture everything from the 80s, at least the 80s until now.
Yes, if I may, the B-29 Super Fortress was the aircraft that was responsible for dropping the nuclear bomb, yeah, on
Okay.
the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And then what happened was the B-29 ended up in the Soviets somehow. I'm trying to remember, like emergency landing. It was an emergency landing. And basically, 3 short years later, the Soviets debuted a long-range bomber at their military air show, and they called it the Tu-4. It was indistinguishable from the B-29 in virtually every way except its name.
Wow.
But take that example to what we talked about in chip war, and that was Russia's strategy to try and get into the chip market. And it was replicate what was already done. Unfortunately, by the time that was ready to come to the market had already evolved, and
Right.
they couldn't create a product that would compete.
That's right. By the time you've replicated, it's always too late in the game to be the innovator.
And they said each component was systematically weighed, measured, and cataloged.
Wow.
Can you imagine? A massive team of designers and engineers worked frantically to duplicate every square inch of the aircraft alongside government-controlled factories,
Reverse
tasked with
engineering.
manufacturing the necessary parts.
Reverse engineering. That's why companies have proprietary and trademarks and yeah.
Well, we will never know. But what was recovered from, you call it what you want, the Chinese spy balloon, or whether it was just a weather satellite device, call it what you want. When it was after it was shot down and was recovered. There are people working on trying to reverse engineer what was the thing really about, what was it trying to do, what did it capture. But all that'll be, secrets that we won't ever know.
Until like 50 years down the road when the book comes out.
Was there controversy with TikTok and its ownership and concern around using it to spy?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what has come out of that?
That's not was, that is.
That is, but what's the latest news on that? I haven't really heard much
some U.S. state legislators have banned TikTok for use on government devices.
Okay.
It's been, there's been a lot of, I'll call it saber rattling in the U.S. Congress about doing something, but nothing's actually come to fruition that might be more pervasive. And the parent company ByteDance to TikTok has tried to allay concerns by saying a bunch of things, that it doesn't share anything with the Chinese government and all that kind of stuff. But Italy did ban it entirely in the country for a short period of time, and they addressed supposedly addressed what Italy's concerns were, and they've just recently remade it available in Italy. But there was the whatever TikTok / ByteDance did to satisfy the Italian government that whatever the privacy issues were addressed. I don't know any of the details.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why I know any of that, I have no idea.
Is there anyone that would really be upset if they lost TikTok?
Oh, a lot of kids would be upset. Very,
that's
very
true.
upset. Yeah.
Not me. I find that it's a time waster. Like, I consume, and maybe it's because I haven't trained the algorithm to curate things that I like. But maybe it's because I've just watched too much garbage and it just sends me more garbage.
Why are you watching garbage?
I don't know. The garbage sucks you in, right? You're like, what are they doing? What are they doing? And then you get to the end, you're like, oh my gosh, I'll never get my time back.
That is correct. That is 100% correct. TikTok is Satan.
Yeah, I maybe there should be an Apple and ByteDance merger, so the Satans can align forces.
Ah,
There you go.
True.
You can
That's
only get
true.
TikTok if you have an Apple.
Yes. They can have a Beelzebub dance off. Yes.
The curse of creativity. What's the secret to writing like Malcolm Gladwell? Have you
Getting
ever noticed?
ChatGPT to do it.
Oh, interesting. Deconstructing the Gladwellian formula unquestionably makes sense. I was thinking when I read that maybe we should do a Malcolm Gladwell next, like talking to strangers.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just like keep on sending out the recommendations.
Yep, that's a good one.
A book you could consider is The Art of Impossible.
The Art of Impossible.
That sounds good.
Do you
by
know
Stephen Kotler.
I like that. I like that. We'll have to decide in the next 2 weeks because we're going to have one more session on decoding the greatness or decoding greatness, and then it'll be a new book. We're almost going to be like Hal and finish. Well, his goal was 52, right? Was it 52, Hal?
My goal this year is to try and do average a book a week.
Okay.
The thing is that it comes in fits and starts because I'll have 2 or 3 books going at one time, and the way it's going to work out, it's going to look like I finished 3 books in like 3 days. When there's been this void of weeks that have gone by, because one that I'm thoroughly enjoying. It wasn't what I expected, but I'm thoroughly enjoying is Stephen King's 11/22/63. It's 850 pages.
Wow.
It's a weightlifting exercise all in one. I do curls with it when I'm not reading it.
Nice.
So that one's that one's taken me about 2 months. But it's a good book.
Not sure if I could finish it in 2 years.
10, 15 pages a day.
And then I had thought about let's do fiction. A fiction that would talk about concepts that, we want to wrestle with at book club. Are you going to lift a comic book, Rob?
Oh, now that would be nice.
When
Oh,
is
some of them.
free? When is free comic book day?
Oh, there is one. I didn't know there was a free comic book
Yeah, they
day.
have a free comic book day, and you go to the comic store that participate, and you ask them for your free comic, and you get your free comic.
Oh,
I think it's in.
cool.
I think it's this month.
I'll have the first edition of Spider-Man, please.
Negative.
Yeah, I doubt you'd get that one for free. Wouldn't that be cool though? Oh man.
Oh my God! It's this Saturday,
So
May 6th.
if the books,
Oh,
Is that just like a Toronto thing?
No, it's a North America thing.
Really? Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Me
yeah.
neither.
So it should, probably, yeah, like yeah, there's comic book stores in every city.
It's
Yeah,
a North American thing.
cool. Learn something new at the virtual book club every single day.
You got that right.
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
What's that?
So what's your rating on this one so far? You're about 70% through, Hal.
On a scale of what to what?
Like on the Goodreads scale.
So yeah, I think it you know, I'm probably going to end up around a 3 or a 3.5.
Oh,
So-
wow.
Good, not great. Lots of super valuable nuggets. But you know,
Yeah, I mean, it seems
I'm pretty tough grader, you know.
yeah, you are.
I
Very
think,
nice.
you know, I looked and I'll pull it back up. Just take me a second because I could tell you what Amazon and Goodreads ratings were when I grabbed them on this book.
Oh, okay.
4.6 on Amazon and 4.25 on Goodreads.
Wow. Yeah, no, I would have it at a 4. So far. It's given me a lot of good ideas, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a tough grader, you know. I mean, it's my
Yeah.
time. So, but you know, I mean, I have dog-eared a bunch of pages. There's plenty of insights.
Oh, you dog-eared now. Because, you know, I started using sticky notes. Yeah, I started using sticky notes. We'll see how cost-effective that becomes when I run out of sticky notes. Who knows? But I kept on running out of ink on my highlighter. So, and then I was
They
thinking,
come in multi-packs. It's a cool thing.
real cool thing, yellow. Always yellow. Okay, it's the Sharpie big ones, the thick ones. All right, well, if that's all you got,
That was
then
more than I thought I had. So there you go.
oh yay. How are you guys liking this every 2 weeks of book club thing? Every second week book club instead of every week book club.
Oh, I miss seeing you guys every week.
Okay.
Yeah, I've said it before. I think it's. I mean, I think there is benefit because every week, you know, is hard for people to do. But I think the flip side of it is continuity gets harder.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to re-engage in a book that, you know, 2 weeks from now, you know, and then I just think continuity is harder. And if somebody misses a session when it's every week, you can still engage on a book. If you miss 2 sessions now, you've missed the entire book. And once you've done that, you know, human nature is you just start disengaging entirely.
Right. So yeah, we might want to think about that. We are going to think about that. I do miss seeing you guys every week.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, are you gonna shut it down?
Yes, I'm going to shut it down and we can stay in the studio for a few minutes.
Yeah.
We will see you all next week. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you. Or not next week, 2 weeks from now.
Bingo.
Has that really?
29.
Has that really